In a quiet town where nothing big ever happens. It's the little things that set off fireworks. A parking spot, a coffee order, or, in this case, a tank of gas. You'd think denying someone free fuel wouldn't spark a full-on social media crusade. But that's exactly what happened to Ben Salazar, a quiet guy, a hard worker, and apparently the new face of tyranny. According to one very loud woman with a camera and a cause, this isn't a story about gas. It's about noise, about truth. And what happens when someone finally decides to stop shouting and just stand still long enough for the world to see what's real? This is Summer Creek, and this is the day everything boiled over at Pump 2. The morning was quiet, too quiet for a Thursday, at Lakeview Fuel and Mart, a dusty little gas station on the edge of Summer Creek, Oregon. Ben Salazar had just finished lining up the candy rack when he heard the screech of tires outside. Not the usual soft rumble of pickups and minivans. No, this was sharp, aggressive. He glanced through the window inside. A pink Cadillac Escalade had come to a sideways stop across two handicap spaces. The doors flung open, and out stepped a woman in oversized sunglasses, a Freedom Over Fees sweatshirt, and a live stream already running on her phone. Rhonda Bellamont. Ben knew the name before he ever knew the face. Everyone in town did. Self-declared community advocate. Facebook famous for recording injustices. Ranging from improperly folded napkins at diners to potholes she believed were part of a government plot. She had 20,000 followers, a small army of truth supporters, and a deep belief that she was always the victim. She marched inside with the kind of purpose usually reserved for hostage negotiators or politicians mid-scandal. Pump 2, fill it. Full tank. She ordered, slapping her keys onto the counter like a sheriff's badge. Ben blinked. Sure thing. As soon as you pay. Rhonda tilted her head, as if she misheard. I'm a verified customer, she said slowly, like she was explaining basic math to a toddler. I always pay after. Look me up in your system. Ben leaned forward on the counter. Ma'am, this isn't a hotel. Gas is pay first. Always has been. Her phone, still recording, tilted slightly. You're denying me service, she asked, voice rising, dramatic tone clicking in like a switchblade. No, Ben said, calmly. I'm asking you to pay like everyone else. She gasped like he'd slapped her. This is discrimination, she shrieked, spinning toward the camera. He's targeting me because I speak out, because I tell the truth. Lexi Moore, Ben's co-worker and the store's unofficial chaos narrator, peeked out from the back office. Oh no, she whispered, watching the drama unfold like a live sitcom. It's Rhonda, and she's got the phone out. Ben kept his expression neutral. But inside, he felt it, that tension. Not fear, something colder, a low, burning frustration that had been growing over weeks of rude customers, delayed paychecks, and the quiet grief he never talked about his mom passing. A month back, alone in a hospice bed 2 towns over, and now this woman, with her faux outrage and weaponized Wi-Fi signal. Rhonda pointed a finger at him. You'll regret this. I have rights. Ben held her gaze. And I have rules. She stormed out in a whirl of indignation and hairspray, shouting to her livestream audience that she was being economically oppressed by a corporate pawn. Moments later, her engine roared again and she sped off, tires squealing. Phone still held high. Ben thought that was the end of it. It wasn't. 25 minutes later, the parking lot was full, not with customers, with followers. 3 minivans rolled in, American flags flapping from the windows. Bumper stickers like, Mama Bear, don't play in my rights, your rules. A group of women in matching t-shirts spilled out, wielding hand-drawn protest signs that read, Justice for Rhonda and gas should be free for patriots. Lexi stared, wide-eyed, as one of them started filming the slushy machine like it was part of a federal investigation. Ben didn't flinch. He simply turned the now hiring sign around and whispered to Lexi, I think I just became the villain in someone else's fever dream. But deep down, he felt something else stir. Not anger, resolve. Because somewhere between her shouting oppression and the sight of her crew staging a protest outside a gas pump, Ben realized this wasn't about gas. It was about truth. And someone had to defend it, even if that meant doing it with a name tag, an apron, and a roll of receipt paper as a shield. By noon, the front of Lakeview Fuel and Mart looked less like a gas station and more like a political rally gone off script. Rhonda had returned. This time, she brought reinforcements, 4 more SUVs, a dozen more Justice Moms, and at least 2 guys in sunglasses filming everything while narrating like sports commentators. Folding chairs were set up near the diesel pumps. One woman had even printed flyers calling Ben a corporate tyrant enforcer. Inside the store, Ben remained calm outwardly. He wiped down the counter, restocked the gum rack, nodded politely to regulars like nothing unusual was happening. But inside, the slow burn from earlier had turned into a quiet blaze. Lexi popped a peanut M&M into her mouth and leaned over. You know they're calling this freedom at the fuel line. Rhonda just posted a hashtag and everything. Ben didn't answer. He was staring at one of the signs outside that read, "We demand accountability for pump oppression." He exhaled slowly. They're not here for gas. Nope, Lexi said. They're here for dopamine and drama. Then the real escalation came. 2 men in black polos walked through the front door with clipboards and faux serious expressions. One had a badge on a lanyard that read, Citizens Consumer Justice Coalition. Ben stared. That a real agency? It is now, Lexi muttered. The taller one cleared his throat. We're here to conduct a preliminary inquiry into a consumer rights violation. Ms. Rhonda Bellamont has reported a systemic denial of essential services based on socio-political bias. Ben blinked. She didn't pay. The man looked flustered. That's not the point. That's literally the point, Ben replied. Behind him, Lexi casually reached under the counter and pressed the store's recording switch. Just in case, she whispered. Last time someone came in with a fake badge. They tried to inspect the walk-in freezer and walked off with 3 Red Bulls. Ben rubbed his temples. Look, I'm not denying anyone anything. I'm following the law. Gas is pay before pump in the state of Oregon. Rhonda refused. That's not bias. That's policy. The shorter man looked unsure. Do you, have proof? Lexi handed them a printed copy of the store's fuel compliance policy, dated and signed. Ben leaned in. And if Rhonda wants to file an actual complaint, tell her to call corporate. Extension 404, 404, the tall man asked. Yeah, Lexi said sweetly, like the error message, because her argument doesn't exist. They left a few minutes later, muttering about escalation procedures and constitutional gas mandates. Ben almost laughed, But then he glanced at the TV mounted near the drink cooler. A local news station had picked up Rhonda's live stream. Breaking activist claims, political discrimination at local business. Ben's face was blurry in the thumbnail, but recognizable. His stomach dropped. I didn't sign up for this, he muttered. Lexi put a hand on his shoulder. You didn't, but it found you anyway. That night, Ben went home and stayed up past 2 a.m., reading every article, every comment, every share. Some people believed Rhonda, others roasted her. But what scared Ben most wasn't the angry posts or the memes. It was the quiet doubt forming in people he thought knew him better. People who didn't comment at all, just watched. Ben couldn't sleep. He woke up early the next morning and met with someone he hadn't spoken to in nearly a year, Valerie Green, Summer Creek's deputy mayor. They met at a diner near City Hall. Ben told her everything quietly, plainly, and without exaggeration. Valerie listened, took notes. Then she reached into her folder and handed Ben something unexpected, a file. Inside were record screenshots, donation logs, complaint histories, all linked to Rhonda's past activism efforts. Turns out, this wasn't her first crisis. It was her 7th. 7 staged incidents across 3 towns in 2 years. Each time, donations. Each time, drama. And each time, disappearing just before a legal threshold was crossed. She's running a pattern, Valerie said. And we've been waiting for someone to finally call it. Ben stared at the papers. Why me? Because you didn't react, she said. You didn't fight. You didn't curse. You just stood there. That's what caught our attention. You let her unravel herself. Ben folded the folder. Suddenly, seeing the whole situation differently, not as a nuisance, but as a chance to end something harmful. For good. It happened on a Saturday. Ben arrived at Lakeview, Fuel and Mart, just before 9 a.m. A few minutes earlier than usual. The sky was overcast, and the usual mountain breeze felt unusually still, like the town was holding its breath. By 9:15, the protests had resumed. Rhonda Bellamont had returned, emboldened by local headlines and a viral TikTok that clipped her shouting, "Gas justice, now," to a dubstep remix. She'd brought more signs, more voices, and more cameras, this time from a fringe internet news channel called Patriot Pulse. But Ben wasn't watching. He was in the back, setting up something Lexi liked to call the finale. At exactly 9:40, Masun, a black SUV rolled into the parking lot. The crowd shifted. Murmurs spread. Deputy Mayor Valerie Green stepped out, followed by a city clerk and a local news crew. She wasn't smiling. "Uh-oh," Lexi whispered, sipping her coffee from a cup that read, "Gas me up." Drama queen. Valerie approached Rhonda with calm, steady steps. "Ms. Bellamont," she said, voice sharp enough to slice through the chants. "You are currently under investigation for multiple counts of fraudulent fundraising under false pretenses." Rhonda blinked. "Excuse me." Valerie handed her a packet of papers, documents with donation logs, message threads, and screenshots Rhonda had forgotten to delete. "These show a pattern." Valerie continued. 7 similar incidents in multiple counties, all resulting in public chaos, online fundraising, and zero follow-up accountability, including this one. You've raised over $14,000 in the past 5 days alone. Rhonda's live stream camera wavered. A woman nearby lowered her phone. "I'm being ambushed," Rhonda barked. "This is political persecution." Valerie didn't flinch. "No, Ms. Bellamont, this is accountability." Ben stepped forward not to speak, but to stand, silent, still, just like he had the first time. And the town noticed. People who once clicked share on her video were now stepping back. A few of Rhonda's supporters started walking toward their cars. One even whispered an apology to Ben on the way out. Lexi leaned in. "Wait for it." Then it came. The moment Rhonda realized she was out of oxygen, out of applause, out of control. She shouted one last time, something incoherent about gas and justice and First Amendment rights, but even the fringe camera crew had stopped recording. Then she turned, climbed into her SUV, and drove off. No cheers, no followers, just the sound of rubber tires fading into a town that was, for once, completely quiet. 2 hours later, the mayor's office released a public statement clearing Lakeview Fuel and Mart of any wrongdoing and praising Ben Salazar for his composure, integrity, and professionalism. The story made the local papers, but the town remembered it differently. They remembered how Ben never yelled, how he never played the victim, but never backed down either. How he stood there, day after day, until lies collapsed on their own weight. The next morning, Ben came in early again. Someone had chalked a message outside the store. "We stand with the guy who stood still." Lexi raised an eyebrow and grinned. "You're officially a folk hero now. Want me to order you a cape?" Ben just smiled and grabbed a squeegee to clean the windows. He didn't need a cape. He just needed people to stop mistaking loud for right. And maybe, just maybe, that had finally started to happen.